Let's talk about our compatibility.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you were shocked. I was really shocked that we're this compatible. I mean, I thought we'd get along, but I've never had it be this easy.
Right.
Ever. In a dating relationship.
It is really easy.
Why do you think that is? That was just pure mushroom.
Part of it, I think, comes because early on we talked about certain like compatibility issues, things that, well, I mean, for me, I had come out of a really bad breakup, and oh, thanks. It's not. That's still not good. Okay. And so I kind of had a really clear picture of what I wanted, didn't want, what hadn't worked in a marriage.
Right.
And, you know, so that translates to long-term relationships or relationships in quarantine or whatever we want to call this. And so I think we talked, and you have a really good way of sort of drawing that information out. So like we would talk and she would ask questions about what had happened in my past, and then
I'm known for asking a lot of questions.
She does ask a lot of questions,
which my ex hated.
And I kind of dig it because it really has helped me sort of solidify some of my own thoughts on things that about my own life, right? About my own experience, my own past experience. So you did that a lot. Like when I would tell you the stories of my past, you would ask really insightful questions about my piece in it, how I thought it had broken down, what I would have done differently. Always with a lot of grace. There was a lot of gentleness around the fact that my relationship, my marriage probably wasn't something that would have lasted even if I had done everything right, or even if I could go back and do some things differently. Because of course every marriage that ends because of two people, not because of one person. And but I think we did a lot of that early on, and we're both really self-aware, so when we would talk through those things, I think that translated into how we would take care of each other in this relationship, which I think helped a lot with building compatibility.
I was so surprised because the girl before her, I was so madly in love with, but we could not communicate. It was always an issue. I remember thinking, I have a degree in communications. Like, how can I be this bad at it? And it was always just like, I mean, it just, and so it would cause a lot of fights and collision. It was just like we did not communicate the same. Like our styles were so polar opposite.
We were like talking past each other.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I was so in love that it just didn't matter. Like which is like, well, this is just how it is. Like in my head, I would just be like, well, you're not dating yourself, so things are going to be different. You're dating a different person with different pasts and different, you know, things that lessons learned and insecurities. And so I just would be like, if you love someone, you know, it's hard work and relationships are hard, which is true. And so I just thought that's just how it has to be. Like, you know, you just take the good times and get through the hard times and hope for the good times again, and pick them few and far between. And as long as you love each other. And I just didn't know that it could be, because I'd had it easier in other relationships, but to be that in love, you know, made it different, right? And so I was like, well, this must be what love is. And so I was really startled to have it be so compatible and so easy. In fact, for the first, so we've been together now 4 months. For the first 2 months we were together, Heidi would ask me, like, are you just on your best behavior? And I was like, it's been 2 months. Like, I don't even think I can, you know, especially now in quarantine, there's no way for me to just be on my best behavior. But because it just seems so too easy.
Yeah. Like, it didn't feel like even the disagreements that we would have were so gentle and respectful, and
Like we genuinely like each other.
Yeah.
And we genuinely want to spend time with each other.
Right.
Like you had talked about how usually in the past, not even in a bad way, but being an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, extrovert, she's an introvert. Being an introvert, you would...
I wanted space. I wanted my own...
Yeah, like I need a minute. Or you would want to go read a book, or you're like, I need, go take a shower. Like I just need time away from you. And that's just not the case with us.
Right.
I mean, we're fine if we need to be apart, but there's not this.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, okay, I need you to be in a different space from me.
Yeah. And you'd think after, how long we've been quarantined now?
6 weeks.
You'd think by now we thought we'd be at that place. Like,
yeah, I think this has all been a surprise. I mean,
like she misses me. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, because she'll be at the table and I'll be in the...
I know.
She'll be like, I miss you.
Stop. Okay.
We'll say goodbye in the morning in bed, and she'll be like, I'm gonna go out there, but I'm gonna miss you. And I'm like, I'm down the hall.
Oh, stop it.
But yeah, so...
No, but I think you're right. I think genuinely, like, just really liking each other's company. I think she's funny. I think it's fun. Like, we have a lot of fun. And, I mean, it's hard. Not only is this a relatively new relationship, and we are suddenly living together because of quarantine, and faster than we would have, or faster than we
And all of a sudden, I went from...
runway model to...
a wife and 3 kids.
Yeah.
Like...
In the
It was
suburbs
literally the
with a
craziest
minivan.
vacation I've ever taken. I left walking Fashion Week, and then all of a sudden I had teaching homeschool and 3 third graders in a minivan in the suburbs with a wife. Like,
yeah, dating by ambush. That's
insane.
but I think even through all of that, like with the kids and with, we've had like some dramatic, I know. We've had some dramatic things, but it's fun. Like we really genuinely have a lot of fun together, and
Everything is fun.
yeah, and that helps a lot.
Well, we feel kind of guilty because we're having so much fun during
That's true.
the pandemic.
It's true.
It really is just, I mean,
We're having fun.
well,
But we also had that love language discussion, which I think
I'm really big on the love languages. Do you know the love languages? Love languages?
I don't know how they answer you.
They're gonna answer.
Okay.
In their mind. So,
You have to tell them what it is.
love languages. You can take the test online and you can buy the book and read about it. But anyways, you can look it up online. It's a book. You can do it for dating relationships and
Parents and children.
friends, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Just your own, single. There's different. But anyways, you can look it up online. So my love language, off the charts, is quality time. And hers off the charts is...
I forget.
physical touch.
Physical touch. Yeah. I couldn't remember how it starts. Sorry.
It's so physical touch.
Yeah.
And then my second one, you always have usually a top 2. So my second one is tied, words of affirmation and physical touch. And her second one is tied, words of affirmation and quality time. So we both share words of affirmation as our number 2, but we also, in our top 2, have the same exact love language. It's just flipped. So mine is quality time and then physical touch, and hers is physical touch then quality time. And I've never had that. Like my ex that I was in love with, mine was quality time off the charts, and one of her last ones on the test was quality time. And I can't tell you what a big difference that made. I mean, because they talk about love tanks. So your love tank, kind of think of a gas tank, can be filled up. And when you're running on empty or on fumes, right, you're not, doing well and not getting your needs met, and you're like not handling the relationship well and feeling not love and feeling filled up, and you're just almost grasping, like wanting that way you feel love. And so what would happen is we would spend time together, and she, would give me good quality time as far as she was just there with me, all the attention, which I don't even need. I just need to be with the person. It doesn't have to be that focused, but she was great about it and great about dates. Incredible. So we would have this great time, and then I would be running on empty because we were long distance, and she was a flight attendant, so she's always flying and gone, plus we're long distance. So I would be on empty, and then we would spend time together, and mine would go up like this. Well, she would go up to here because she doesn't need that much quality time. So to her love tank and that area's full, and physical touch is hers, so she'd get her physical touch in, and then we would part, and here I'm still leaving on empty, and then the next, and then I'd go on fumes, and we, she'd finally need some, and we'd get together, and, and so it's like, it's just off kilter. And, I mean, obviously it wasn't only problems, there was fear commitment and distance, and I thought she was out, and it turns out she wasn't out, and so that obviously was thought we were like talking marriage, and I found out she wasn't actually even out and willing to be out. So there's obviously a lot going on against us, but I definitely knew that was an issue because I would feel so low. I never feel lonely. But her and another relationship, recent relationship that I'd had before Heidi, the same thing, where I would feel lonely because when we're apart, there's no connection. So it's not, like with that relationship, it's not, she wouldn't want to like text. Because if I get texts, like I do well with texting, that can fill my love tank.
Quality time.
Yeah, like my quality time. Like, or on the phone or video chat. Like it doesn't matter as long as there's connection. Because you can't always see each other all the time. That's fine. But, so I can handle long distance if that's there. But she wouldn't want to do that. She would just want to, we'd have an amazing time when we're together, and then she'd be so busy in her work and stuff and wouldn't want to even like say goodnight at night. Like that just wasn't a thing. And then we'd have an amazing time. So I would try to get myself there constantly. Like, just hang on, you're going to love your time with her. But I am faithful. And so we were exclusive. And so I wouldn't swipe. I wasn't flirting. I wasn't dating. And so all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm lonely in a relationship. And I'm waiting until we spend time together. And then I have a great time, but it's like this, one overnight. And then I'm back to like just barely getting air. And then she's like, okay, so, we go another week or 2 or 4 or whatever. And so it was just really difficult because that wasn't matched up. And she didn't understand because she was like, we have such great times and I'm exclusive with you and I care about you and I want to see if this can go the distance and I'm buying you gifts. And so she just didn't understand why I would be miserable. And then when I explained it to her, she started to like really see like, oh wow, like we're really different in this area because it really does matter. And
well, and I think why it matters so much is that it doesn't feel like work to show you how I feel about you because
that's how you show love.
And it's how I receive it.
Yeah.
So spending quality time with you means that both of us are getting filled up. And
yeah, so it makes it a lot. I think that is really what I realized was so, for me, important because I realized that I would rather be alone than lonely with someone. And that was something that was a really big deal for me.
I think one thing for me too is that I hadn't made my faith really a staple part of past relationships where like I just, as long as they respected my faith, as long as they were, respected me in my faith, didn't think that, they didn't have to agree, right? And so being with someone now for the first time in my adult life, actually, that sees the world the same. That
we share the faith.
Yeah, that's also been it's a big deal.
Especially in raising kids, right?
And like I never acknowledged that. Like that was never a thing that I had thought through or thought like, oh, well, maybe that's contributing to the lack of compatibility. But it certainly was. Yeah,
because now we pray with the kids every night. We go to church, online church now.
We pray together.
We pray together. We make decisions,
based on a mutual.
One of my girlfriends and I didn't have like this rule that I had to date a Christian when it came to. I did more when I was dating men, but because I knew in the gay world, like someone not being a Christian, that's not that surprising. Like, right. The church has not been getting it right. God has, but churches, where he's represented. So, but I did realize that marriage-wise, that was something that needed to be. I had to have that because, one of my girlfriends and I broke up just because we started getting serious, and it was like when big things would happen in life, which are going to happen, I'm someone that wants to turn and pray about it. And that person respected that, but they, of course, weren't going to want to do that. And I'm never going to try to force that on someone, and nor should you. And so we couldn't come together on that's something I want to do with my partner. I want to, take it to God. And I get if someone, that's not their thing, but I don't want to be doing that on my own. Or
again,
like
that would be lonely.
The kids just watching, me, but then they're not. I mean, why would kids want to go to church when they could just stay home with the other,
Right.
Anyway, so it just was important to me. So yeah, that was, and here we met in a Christian program. So faith was something that I knew,
right,
was important. Agreed. So yeah, so there's a lot of, and they say that also the love languages test. I mean, even if you're with someone where you don't have the same, even near love languages, is fine, because they say, as long as you learn what the other person are, then you can show them love in that way, because we all know how to do and have parts of each love language. But just by design, the first thing you're going to do is show someone how you love them by how you want to receive love. Well, if that's not how they feel love, it's not going to be communicated the same. So, so for instance, if someone feels loved by getting acts of service like you doing the dishes, and yet you just keep telling them, I think you're amazing, which is words of affirmation. It's not that they don't want to hear that. Of course, you want to do all the love languages, but they're not going to feel loved because no acts of service is happening. And so the love languages are acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, gift giving, and physical touch. So, and I know one of the famous couples, I'm forgetting their name right now, but they talk about it a lot, how it helped their marriage, because getting gifts is her love language, and he wanted to keep showing her physical touch. And she's like, of course I want that, but, and so he finally had to realize, and she, I think, wanted to, buy him gifts, and he was like, I just want you to touch me, so kind of just making that an importance.
Yeah.
That's why we're compatible.
Yeah.
Perfect. Are you eating now?
Finally.
She doesn't like to eat on camera.
I hate it.
I don't know why.
But I'm dying. I'm so hungry.
No,
I wanted to say one more
thing.
thing.
I thought you guys were going to get mad at me if I kept shooting and she wasn't eating. It was making her starve. So I told her she had to eat.
But you said also that relationships do take work, and I think,
yeah. 100%.
I think the difference is, I think we are working at this and making it a huge priority, but because it's fun, and because we're having these conversations about it, right? So if if something's not working, or if something's, that's why I didn't want to eat on camera. That right there, because of the salad we were eating, it's impossible to do that looking any other way but that. Which is why I would look off camera every time I took a bite.
Sexy.
But I think, it's, again, if you can do that with a certain amount of grace or gentleness, then it doesn't feel as hard, right? It's still hard work. It's still something that you're working at, but it doesn't feel hard.
Right.
That's it. That's a good bite.
Maybe you'll look this bad eating salad, and the person still wants to stick around. You're halfway there.